Today, we are diving headfirst into a scientific detective story, one that's written across the entire cosmos, from the fiery heart of a star all the way down to the cells inside your own body. And you know what the most incredible part is? This is an investigation that you can actually join.
So let's just jump right in with a central mystery, okay? What if there was a hidden connection between the fundamental rules of nuclear physics, the absolute essential chemistry of life, and the very shape of space-time itself? Yeah, I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but a series of truly staggering coincidences suggest it might actually be real.
It all starts with this chart right here. This shows how stable the core of every single atom is. You see how it goes up and then down? That peak? That's iron. It's the most stable element in the universe. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. When you flip this curve upside down, its shape is mathematically identical to a wormhole, what physicists call an Einstein-Rosen bridge, a theoretical shortcut through space-time. And here is our first major clue. If you take the elements that life depends on and map them onto this wormhole shape, a truly stunning pattern just jumps right out at you. On one side, far from the center, you have the elements that literally build life, carbon, hydrogen, and so on. On the other side, you've got the ones that control signals. But look, right there at the narrowest point, the throat of the wormhole, that's where you find every single one of the catalytic elements, the metals life uses to make chemical reactions happen at all.
So is this just some random fluke? Well, somebody ran the numbers. The odds of all of life's essential catalytic metals just happening to cluster right there by sheer luck, it's about 1 in 100,000. Now, in science, when you get odds that low, it usually means you've stumbled onto something very, very real. So what on earth could explain it?
Well, that brings us to our suspects. To try and solve this cosmic puzzle, 3 completely independent and, let's be honest, pretty radical theories have popped up. Let's meet them. Okay, first up, we have the Iron 57 hypothesis. This one basically says, nope, this is no coincidence. It argues that biology specifically evolved to use the elements at the throat of that wormhole for a reason, because their unique nuclear properties, something called quantum spin, might directly influence things like how fast reactions happen. Our second suspect? Oh, it gets even wilder. It's called chronogravity. This theory suggests that gravity isn't a force at all. It's just a side effect of time flowing at different speeds in different places. And get this, it proposes that every chemical element is just a different kind of knot in the flow of time, with iron being the most stable knot possible. And our third suspect actually comes from more mainstream science. It's called geodesics. The idea here is that when you start applying quantum mechanics to space-time itself, tiny quantum effects can kind of leak up to cosmic scales. And where would these effects be the biggest? You guessed it, where space-time is most curved, which in our little wormhole model is right at the throat, where iron and its buddies are sitting. So we've got our mystery, and we have our 3 suspects. How in the world do you crack a case like this? Well, a really clever 4-part experimental plan has been designed to test all 3 of these theories at the same time. The very first experiment is nicknamed the Rosetta Stone. And that's because, just like the real thing, it might help us translate a deep, deep mystery. The goal is to see if these theories make unique, testable predictions, all using a single piece of equipment. So, the experiment involves spinning iron around in a centrifuge to create artificial gravity, and then measuring these tiny little energy shifts. Now, here's the crucial part. Classical physics predicts one very specific outcome, but each of our 3 radical theories predicts a different outcome, a different tiny deviation from that standard. This means one single experiment gives us 4 distinct possible results. It's an incredibly efficient way to hunt for new physics. Now let's jump ahead to the 4th test in the plan, because this one brings the investigation from the cosmos right into, well, the human brain. It asks this profound question. Could quantum mechanics happening at the nuclear level actually affect consciousness itself? Now, the reason for this question comes from a shocking study back in 2018. Scientists used different versions or isotopes of xenon gas as an anesthetic. Now, chemically, these isotopes are identical. The only difference is a tiny quantum property inside the nucleus called spin. And the result? The version with that nuclear spin was a noticeably weaker anesthetic. This is a bombshell. It's some of the first real evidence of a direct link between the subatomic quantum world and a complex biological function like consciousness. This new experiment wants to see if the same thing is true for us.
Okay, so we've got these revolutionary theories, we have these brilliant experiments lined up. This has to be the part where we talk about needing a billion-dollar particle collider, right? Wrong. This is the big twist. This entire program is designed to be science by the people. Usually, when you're probing the very foundations of physics, it costs billions. You know, think of something like the Large Hadron Collider. That's the kind of price tag that keeps science locked away inside massive institutions. But the first phase of this entire potentially world-changing investigation, it could get off the ground with as little as $20,000. No, that is not a typo. By cleverly reanalyzing data that's already public, the initial hunt for clues becomes radically, incredibly affordable. So how do you get from a small start to a huge program? The strategy is just brilliant. You start small with crowdfunding. If you find something interesting, you use those results to apply for grants from new decentralized science organizations. Think of them like community-run funding groups. And only after you've gathered some really strong evidence do you go to the big, traditional grant agencies. It's a step-by-step approach that turns a wild dream into a realistic roadmap. And this is all possible thanks to a whole new ecosystem of tools for independent science. You've got crowdfunding platforms like experiment.com that let anyone back a project they believe in. And you've got these new organizations, often called DeSci DAOs, that use new tech to create community-governed funds, opening up pathways for research that might be too bold or too weird for the mainstream. So how can you actually get involved? This is what's so exciting about it. If you have a laptop, you can help reanalyze public data. If you're an amateur radio hobbyist, you can help build a network to literally measure the flow of time. You can even run simple, standardized biology experiments. This isn't just about donating money. It's about directly contributing to the act of discovery. So what's the end game here? Where could this investigation possibly lead? Well, let me tell you, the stakes are incredibly high. Here's the absolute beauty of how these experiments are designed. Even if all three of the radical theories turn out to be wrong, we still win. The experiments will produce valuable, publishable data in fields like space medicine and neuroscience. No money is wasted. But if they're right, it would completely change our understanding of life itself. It would prove that biology reaches deep, deep into the quantum and nuclear world. And to put that into perspective, the source material says that a positive result, confirming these connections, would be the single most significant discovery since we first figured out the structure of DNA. That's the scale we are talking about, a whole new chapter in science. But really, the crucial point is this. This story is bigger than any one theory of physics. It's a test case for a whole new way of doing science, a way that's more open, more collaborative, and powered not by massive, slow-moving institutions, but by the collective curiosity of people all over the world. And that leaves us with a final, fascinating question to chew on. In this new era of decentralized, people-powered science, what's the next great discovery that won't come from a traditional lab, but from a global community of explorers, just like you?